This is Mike Corey from ESPN, and you're listening to the Sports Objective Podcast, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode. From the sidelines down to the post, put it down like not even close. All out to the last whistle blow. From the flag of the soul and crossbones. Everybody stand up, get your hands.
Welcome into the Sports Objective, as we have a very special show. They're all great, but this one's extra special because we have Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, sir?
What's going on, Dave? Yeah, it's a very special day when you have me on the show, which is pretty much a regular occurrence. But no, I think I don't think it's because I'm up here. I think it's because Bubba Rosenbaum's on the show. What's going on, Bubba?
Not a whole lot, guys. I'm just out and about running some errands. Some of the family's been a little under the weather, so picking up the slack and out and about with Reese right now.
No doubt about it. Thank you, Bubba. And with us right now, a dear friend of mine. He's put up with me for over 25 years, a long time, quarter of a century, hard to believe. And the voice of the Pirates, Jeff Charles. How are you, voice?
I'm doing great, Dave. Good to see Bubba and Kyle and all you guys. And thank you very much for the invitation. I always enjoy the opportunity to speak with the Pirate Nation and talk Pirate athletics. It's a pleasure to do that every time we get the privilege to do it. So looking forward to our conversation tonight.
No doubt, voice. So much to talk about. Obviously, I guess we could start with disappointed last night. I know you had the flight back and you ride back safely from Cincinnati. The Pirates had a tough break. Cincinnati was lightening up in the first half. They were down at one point, I know, 23 points. One of the things that I've seen in Pirate Nation today that I was really happy with fans is they acknowledged the Pirates fought really hard. They come back. It was just too much of a deficit, right, voice? I mean, I know they were shooting something like Cincinnati 60% in the first half. I said they can't shoot that way for the entire game. I'm glad I was right. I'm just disappointed that we fell a little bit short.
Well, Dave, all the things you say are correct. They were down 23 in the first half. They were down 20 points at halftime. When you're on the road against a quality opponent and you dig a hole that deep, it's going to be very difficult to come back and win the game. But give the guys credit. They came out with a different focus to start the second half of the game, and they closed it down to 5 with about 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go. And Tristan Newton had a wide open 3 out of the left corner. If he nails that one, all of a sudden it's a 2-point game, but he missed it. And then UC goes down. They score a couple of buckets later. So, yeah, it's difficult to go on the road and win in this conference. It's difficult in college basketball for anybody to go on the road and win conference road games. And as we all know, East Carolina has struggled to do that really in its entire history. I've been here now. This is my 34th year, and I go back to the CAA days. The Pirates had a hard time winning in the CAA on the road, and then into Conference USA, and then, of course, now into the American Athletic Conference, which is such a good league. And to win on the road, there's a very little margin for error, and the Pirates almost have to play a perfect game against most of these teams to come up with a road victory.
Jeff, if you look at things, we obviously had the COVID pause, but I think this basketball program's in a good or the basketball team's in a good place right now in terms of competitiveness. And we're getting over the hump at home, like you said, having trouble doing it on the road. The fans haven't seemed to bought in yet this year, and I think part of that, the COVID pause, the holidays, the COVID pause right after the holidays is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think we've had that win yet to get people excited. Do you think if we could beat Memphis this Saturday, if that could maybe light a fire under the fan base and get people to start being a little more interested in this hoops program?
Yeah, I think so, Kyle. And I think the Omicron variant and the resurgence and what we are seeing now with the surge, I think that has played a big role in attendance, not only at East Carolina, but on the road. The Pirates have been on the road the last 2 games, and Temple, the Liacouras Center, seats just over 10,000. There were only 2,700 people there on Saturday. I've never seen a crowd like that before. Usually they don't sell it out when East Carolina comes in, but usually 6,000, 7,000 in there at least. And it was like empty. And then last night in Cincinnati, there were 4,000 empty seats in Cincinnati. And usually it's full when you go in there and play too. I think there are a lot of factors working against college basketball and college football attendance. We can talk about that too. But you're right. The fan base needs something to get excited about, and we saw it in football this year that finally the fan base got excited again about Pirate football. That's what was so gratifying for me to see that. And it does need to have a win in basketball for the same thing to happen. Now, I expect to see a good crowd out there on Saturday. My goodness, if you can't have a good crowd for Memphis coming in here with Penny Hardaway as the coach and Larry Brown, the legend on the bench, and Rasheed Wallace, a North Carolina legend and an NBA outstanding player all these years on the bench, and then this great talent that they have. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at least 4 or 5, if not more, of those kids that we'll see on Saturday will play in the NBA. And everybody talks about Memphis basketball and the talent level. If you can't get excited about that and get a good crowd out there on Saturday for a 4 o'clock game, which again, guys, I think is really good. I think 4 o'clock is good. It gives people an opportunity on Saturday morning to do what they need to do, and it gives the out-of-town folks a chance to get to Greenville at 4 o'clock. And then the game's over at 6, and they can go back home. The students, of course, don't have to get up and go on that early as well. So I think 4 is a great time. So I think the stage is really set. It's too bad the Pirates couldn't have won last night. I think that would have kicked up the anticipation for the game a little bit more. But I think we'll have a good crowd on Saturday. And as we all know, when that place is packed, it's a little bandbox gym, and that's not a bad thing. When you get it packed, it can really make a difference. And we certainly have been appealing to the fans to get out there on Saturday at 4 and see a good college basketball game. I know the players would appreciate it. Joe and his staff would appreciate it. And believe me, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference when the fans are there and they're behind the team. And the Pirates will need all the help they can get against a really talented Memphis team on Saturday.
Now, Jeff, you take a look, and Kyle talked about the competitiveness of this team. 15 games in, 10-5. All 5 of those losses have been a 2-possession game within the last 4 minutes. And 3 of those 5 came down to the final minute of the game, like against Oklahoma and Davidson, for instance. So when was the last time? I was thinking back. It's hard for me to remember a time where you were halfway through the season where you legitimately had a chance to win every game on the schedule halfway through like this team has.
Yeah, you probably have to go back to the CIT team that was having a good year, of course, and had chances to win most of the games that they played. But yeah, it's been fun this year. I think we have to keep in perspective the entire season and where the Pirates are. I think most people would say 10-5 after 15 games would be pretty good going into the year. And I know some people criticize the out-of-conference schedule, but if you're Joe Dooley, you've got to find a way to win some games and try and put a winning season or 2 together. And it's not going to do this program any good, guys, to go out on the road and play Big East and Big Ten and SEC schools and get a bunch of losses before you even start the conference. So I've always thought if East Carolina can win 9 games, which they did this year in the non-conference, and you play 12 games in your non-conference, if you can go 9-3, which they were able to do, then somehow, some way, if you can steal 7 wins in the conference, then that gives you 16 wins, and you're 16-14 going into the conference tournament. And even if you lose that first one, you're 16-15, and you end up with a winning season. So all of those goals, I think, for this team are still out there, and it doesn't sound like you're reaching too far to talk about 7 wins in a conference season, but let's face it, East Carolina's never been able to do that in the AAC. So a 7-win, 7-11 season in the conference would actually be a step forward. And then with what they've done in the non-conference, again, you go into the conference tournament with a winning record. So all that's still in front of the guys. I do think they're capable of doing that. They're going to have to start playing a little bit better. And I'll tell you what, guys, this January schedule, they can't say enough bad things really about the conference schedule maker in the AAC, because when you look at what this team's going through this month, you've got Memphis twice, you've got Cincinnati twice, you've got Houston at Houston, and then, of course, you had Temple up there. I mean, it is tough. And so if they can just somehow, some way get through the month of January with their head above water, then it eases up a little bit the first couple of weeks of February. So these are big games. They got to do the best they can and try and get through them. And Joe has his work cut out for him. I mean, when you start losing some games, things can kind of get tough, but he's a good motivator. The kids just have to keep playing hard and keep as confident as they can be. And they're pretty good at that. And so let's see if they can do that and get through this month, and then maybe make some hay a little bit more in February.
Jeff, if there's any, and if maybe this has already been discussed and I just missed it, do we know if we're making up the South Florida and Wichita State game?
That is still under consideration, as I understand it, Kyle. And I just talked to Joe about that a couple of days ago, and there are still discussions going on. They've not put anything together yet unless something happened today. I think Joe wants to play the games. Now, he doesn't want to go to Wichita and play back-to-back games out there. Right. Pirates have to go out there at the end of the year. I think maybe that was on the table at one point. Obviously, he does not want to do that as a coach. And then the USF game, I'm not sure where they're going to be able to fit that in. I think they want to play these games, but it's just difficult to get the two schools together and find some common dates to play them.
Yeah, I gotta wonder. And maybe I'm being too harsh because I don't guess people knew the variant was coming, et cetera. But after the last year of basketball and everything else, you almost would think that rescheduling dates would have been put in. You would have had maybe a gap before conference tournament started, just in case games had to be rescheduled. And I'm second guessing here, but we knew the virus is still out there, so I kind of wonder why that wasn't done by not just the American but all the leagues.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much thought was given to that, Kyle. It's a good idea. I just really don't know. And we're just in uncharted waters with so much of this stuff, even this year, even going through it last year. It still doesn't quite feel like it's back to where, it was pre-COVID days when we go into these cities and in the airports. It just still feels different, and especially with the way the virus has surged here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, there are people in the airports, and the flights are full, but they're not running as many flights, and so there really aren't as many people in the terminals in the airports. And then just being in the major cities, like yesterday being in Cincinnati and then Saturday being in Philadelphia, there just aren't as many people out and about. And usually in those cities, downtown, it's really bustling and there are people everywhere. It's really felt dead in those two big cities the last 2 times the Pirates have been there here this past week. So, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff. It's just not quite like it was. Hopefully it will one of these days. We all want to get back to the pre-COVID days, but, we're not there yet.
Yeah, speaking of that, none of that was more evident of things not being like they were and COVID still being an issue. Then, of course, you know what I'm about to bring up? The Military Bowl. Jeff, where were you when you found out we weren't going to play the Military Bowl?
I was somewhere between Farmville and Tarboro, North Carolina. So don't feel too sorry for me. I feel badly for the Pirate Nation. And before I tell you a little bit about my travels, I just want to thank the Pirate Nation for buying the tickets and heading to Annapolis. Guys, it was so great to see that. It was so great to see that spark of the Pirate Nation come back to support this football team. And my heart goes out to all those folks who bought the tickets and had the hotel rooms, maybe flew into Annapolis, and they were so looking forward to the game. And then, of course, the rug was pulled out from under them. But I can only speak for myself. I thank all those people so very, very much for supporting this team and getting to Annapolis. I mean, East Carolina was going to have, I think, somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people at that game and had just a great home field advantage. And then, of course, it didn't happen. But I was on my way. I was driving up, and I wasn't more than 20 miles out of town, and my phone started blowing up. And so I turned right around and came back home. I wasn't out of the house 35 minutes and came right back and was as disappointed as everybody because I was really looking forward to that game. And, guys, as a broadcaster, you broadcast games with schools that you see each and every year, the same teams. And I was really pumped up to see a new team play the Pirates. I was pumped up to see Boston College play. I've never done a game with Boston College. And it was fun doing the research on the history of their program and talking to their coaches and looking at what they had done this year and talking to their broadcasters and people up there in the media. And so I was really looking forward to the game, and I was very disappointed as well. And, you just move on. Sometimes life isn't always fair. You just have to pick yourself up and move on. And the good thing is the Pirates are coming off a winning season, and I think there'll be a lot of anticipation for the year next year.
Now, Jeff, with everything the program had been through in recent years, it's been so well documented, and where Mike Houston has now brought this program. Talk about how nice it was to be able to call so many games that the Pirates won this year, games like the Owen Daffer's dagger, as we called it, against Navy, that moment against Memphis the week before. I'll tell you, watching that one from home, and my kids were laughing at me. They didn't understand why I literally had tears streaming down my face with everything the program had been through and where it's come.
Well, it's a lot of fun, guys. As a broadcaster, we don't live with the wins and the losses like coaches and players do. But believe me, it's a lot more pleasurable when your team that you're broadcasting for is winning games. The coaches are in a lot better mood and the players are in a better mood. And then, I've been here so long. This is my 34th year here. And I feel like I've got my blood, sweat, and tears in this place like a lot of people do. And so you want to see the guys win. You want to see them have success. And being as close to it as I've had the opportunity to be, really on a daily basis with football and basketball, you just see how hard these guys work. I wish the average fan could just see how hard these guys work on a daily basis and just see what they put into this thing. So for that reason, you want to see them have success. And it was so good to see smiles on these young guys' faces this year. There's nothing like it going into that locker room after they win a game like that you referenced, Bubba, and seeing those kids and those big smiles on their faces. And they've been rewarded for all of the hard work. It's just a great thing to see. And so it was so much fun seeing that. I mean, you get in the doldrums, we talk about snowballs going downhill, and when you're winning, like the Pirates have had some seasons where they've won big and the snowball goes down that direction. And then you flip the coin on the other side when you just get stuck, it seems like, in the mud where you're losing every week, and you've had these seasons where you're having losing season after losing season, and you ever wonder if it's going to change and turn around. Well, every coach, you guys have heard this say before, the only thing you can do is roll up your sleeves and keep working hard and trying hard, and there's no really secret to it. You have to find a way to dig your way out of it. And this program now has dug themselves out of it. Now, just because they've won 7 games this year and had a really good year, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win 8 or 9 next year, because, every year's a new year, and you're going to have all these different personnel changes now, and especially with the transfer portal as it is, and as we've seen with the guys moving on to try their opportunity with the NFL. These rosters are going to change so much, so these teams are going to change so much, from year to year. So even though you had the success this year, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have it next year. If you've had a bad year one year, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a terrible year the next, because these rosters are going to change so much, and coaches change now a lot, and coaching staffs change a lot with assistants. So I look at it every year now, guys, as like a new adventure. It's just like a new season, new adventure, and we all look forward to it. I think that's why we kind of stick around here, because you don't know what's going to happen next. It's exciting to try and figure it out, and it's exciting to see what kind of a year you're going to have the next year.
Jeff, the Owen Daffer field goal, is that the longest game winner you've called?
I believe so. I'd have to go back and research that off the top of my head. No, I've called some other, game-winning field goals at East Carolina, and also some other places I have been on the last second at the buzzer, if you will, field goals. But I think that might have been the longest one. I think maybe, we've had some around 50, 51 or 2, but I can't remember a 54-yard.
No doubt. Hey, and Jeff, looking back on the season, I remember I'm the only one on this broadcast that thought that we could beat Marshall going into the fourth quarter. Listen to your call. I was DJing an event in Raleigh, and listened to your call driving back. I was in Nashville. It was pretty dire, there in the third quarter, and I'm driving back, and I literally, that was that one and the Memphis game. I was sitting in my car. I'm very superstitious when it comes to sports. I was listening to you. I was so afraid when not that it really matters, but I enjoyed sitting in the backyard of my house there and literally hearing you say, paint this one purple. I mean, it was just incredible, those games. And the Navy game, I was getting ready to do a karaoke event. And when you said he nailed it, I mean, that was just, I was in shock. I couldn't believe that he made the 54 yard.
Well, I couldn't either, Dave. I didn't know the kid had that kind of range. I really didn't. I don't think Mike Houston knew for sure if he had that kind of range either. And you have to remember now, Ken Niumatalolo, the Navy coach, called those timeouts to ice him, but it didn't work. He's a cool kid. And that didn't faze him a bit. He just went out there and just kicked a 54-yarder like it was nothing. But yeah, and that's what makes it so much fun. The guys work hard, and we try and put together a quality broadcast every week. And when they win games, it's just a lot of fun. And those are some great moments. And we've had a lot of great moments at ECU down through the years. And some of these games this year, you have to add them right onto the list.
Well, I can guarantee you the coach didn't think Owen could make the field goal. I don't know, Jeff. Did you see Coach Houston's? Have you seen the CBS Sports tape of Coach Houston's reaction to the field goal?
I don't think I have, actually.
Well, he said "holy," and the following word wasn't crap.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it was a great moment, and that kid Owen Daffer. I've gotten a chance to know him this year, and he's really a cool kid. I mean, you would think when you see him, he's about 14 years old, but he's just got that poise and just believes every time he goes out there he's going to nail it. And as you guys know, as a kicker, that's about more than half the battle. So I'm really glad to see that for him. He's a quality kid. And what's so good is he's going to be around here now, hopefully, for a few more years.
Yeah, I told Dave and Bubba, I said, we saw Owen on TV and that baby face and that and those curls he got on top of his head after making that field goal. I wonder how many phone numbers he got when he got back to Greenville that night.
Yeah, I'm sure he was a pretty popular guy for sure. And what was cool about that whole moment too, guys, is that his family was there. And they're from Wilmington. He was at New Hanover High School, and all of his family was there, and they got a chance to witness that. And I know in talking to him, they were all going to the Military Bowl, too. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, wouldn't that be something if he'd kick another game-winning field goal in that same stadium in a bowl game? But, of course, as we know, that's not going to happen.
No question, Jeff. A lot of people may know, or some may not know, that you're a big wrestling fan, and somebody that we all know, a good friend of the show, is Alan Powell. He says, "Hey, Jeff, if you could pick, would you rather be a pro wrestling announcer or a pro wrestling manager?" Leave it to Pirate.
How about a pro wrestler?
Oh, wow.
Oh, you would have liked to actually been a wrestler, Jeff?
What's that?
Would you have actually liked to have been a wrestler when you were younger?
Oh, yeah, it's just kind of a fantasy thing, I guess. I mean, not really, because I know what a tough business that is. And you really have to start at the bottom and not get paid very much. And when you're trying to start a family and you're trying to do things career-wise, it just wouldn't be in the cards. But yeah, I think we all have little fantasies in the back of our mind, like to do this or like to do that. And this past summer, we'll talk about that if you guys want to. I started a promotion called Turnbuckle Promotions, and I was working out with the wrestlers in Michigan, which I really had a lot of fun doing. And so, I guess it's kind of like a fantasy camp thing. If you go to baseball fantasy camp or football or basketball or whatever, you have these fantasy camps now for wrestling. And it was a lot of fun being around the guys and just, I guess, pretending like you're a wrestler.
Jeff, how did it go in Michigan? I know you promoted the show up there. How did it draw with the indie talent up there?
Well, it did well, Kyle. I was pleased with it. The town where we live in the summer is a small town. It's a town of 5,000 people. It's Sheboygan, Michigan. And in most of the little towns in Michigan, they almost all have hockey rinks. And Sheboygan, Michigan has a really nice hockey rink. It seats 1,000 people. And then, of course, you've got all that floor space where the rink is to bring in folding chairs for wrestling. And so that's what we did. And they had not had a wrestling show up there for many, many years, going back to the big time wrestling days out of Detroit with Bobo Brazil and the Sheik. Wow. And all of those guys had come to Sheboygan back in, I guess, the late 70s, early 80s. And so they'd not had a show there for a long time. So people in town were excited about it. And we worked it hard. We had 26 sponsors actually on the show.
That's great.
And yeah, we drew. You have to remember now, this is a town of only 5,000 people. It's like Farmville size. And we drew a little over 500 people for the show, which I was really pleased with that. We paid all the bills. We made a few bucks. Everybody went home happy. We really tried to make it a community event in that we honored 6 people at the intermission of the show, people in town like first responders and people who were pillars of the community type of people. So we brought everybody together that we could, including the business community. And I think the fans really enjoyed it. Now, I'll tell you what, guys, it's like what we're saying now about smiles on faces. It was so much fun to see little kids come in with their mom and dad and, great big eyes. And they're at the first wrestling match they've ever seen before. And they're so excited. And then to see them afterwards. And the wrestlers were really good with the kids. They stayed after the show and autographed pictures. And it was just so much fun to see the smiles on those little guys and little girls' faces. So, that's why we did it. We did it for fun. We did it for the community. I think everybody had a good time, and it was just a lot of fun, and it was a learning experience for me too, because I'd never done anything like that before. And you always like to experience new things and talk to the wrestlers and learn a little bit more about the business, what they go through. And then the town was just terrific in supporting it. I mean, everywhere I went, and people up there don't know me very well at all. They know me as some guy from North Carolina that comes up there in the summer, but they don't know me. And, I was going into these businesses cold and had this plan to bring a wrestling show here. And the people were great. They just responded to it so well. So we had a lot of fun with it. We really did. It was a great night, and I'm really glad that we did it.
Jeff, a couple of things that just from hearing you talk about that I'll pick out. One, you had no names on that show. We talked about that beforehand. It was indie talent. If you drew 500 people on straight indie talent, that's incredible. Two, you said you had 26 sponsors. That's a hell of a job as a promoter to get 26 sponsors for an independent wrestling show, and that's huge to draw your crowd, because when you get that many local businesses involved, just people are going to come that are involved with those businesses. And so that was great. That's old school promoting, is what that is. You could have had some territory towns back in the day, Jeff.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Kyle. I'll tell you what, we worked hard at it, but then the community did a great job and responded. We had the Cadillac GMC dealer in town, was one of our title sponsors, some really good people there. They run a quality business. And a little note, too, that you guys may or may not be aware of. In the state of Michigan, marijuana is legal. And I don't mean medical marijuana. I mean just recreation, leisurely marijuana is legal in the entire state. And here's a little town like, say, Farmville size, and there are 5 marijuana stores in town, if you can believe that. And one of those 5 was one of our sponsors. They were one of our sponsors as well. And we gave them an exclusive. And then I had the guy across town come to me, and he was like begging me to get on the show. And it's, well, I've already got a commitment to these other folks. I gave them an exclusive on the show. So we just had so many people rallied behind it and came to the show. And, it was just a win-win, I think, for everybody.
And next time you do that, if you can have the marijuana, not distilleries, I can't think of the term, the marijuana stores. If you're in Michigan, get RVD and just make it complete.
Yeah, I tell you what, that has become, Kyle, an incredible business for the state of Michigan, and the state is, taxing those folks, and they're making some money off of it too. And I've just seen it grow here in the last year or 2 years, where these marijuana stores are just popping up like dandelions all over the place, and you drive by them, and there's 10 or 15 cars out front and a line in the building, and it's been a big shot in the arm for the economy for Michigan, which the state of Michigan has needed that. And it's been, like I say, an economic windfall for that state.
Dispensaries is the term I was trying to think of. And and this is a whole nother subject, and not something I expected to be talking to Jeff Charles about. But the decriminalization of marijuana is something that needs to happen nationwide. And, we'll stop that discussion there.
Hey,
go ahead, Dave. Take it. Change the subject.
Well, we are Jeff the Chronic Charles. I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you, there's a lot of folks like B-Pays wanted to chime in tonight on Facebook and YouTube, and that's why I was going to be my seg. So thank you, Kyle, for that. I know that we have several folks that want to chime in, right, Bubba?
Yeah, we appreciate B-Pays, and then also Justin Butts, Mark Calloway, as well as several others chiming in. And then Justin Butts chimed in, of course, and Justin Butts and that family. They're very involved with the program, and the equipment truck that gets everything to the away games and so forth. So appreciate Justin chiming in.
No doubt about it. And in fact, I know there's other folks that want to.
Hey, Jeff, I got a quick question while I'm thinking about it, Dave. Didn't mean to step on you, but it's a relevant question I think Pirate Nation would want to know the answer to. And Jeff, you may not know. Do you know the situation right now with who's going to be doing the play-by-play for baseball this year?
I do not, and I don't believe that decision has been made. I know they've talked with a few people, Kyle, but I don't think that decision has been made. And then, of course, you're kind of in this uncomfortable position now with Learfield only going to be involved until their contract expires June 30th, and then Playfly will be coming in. So
yeah.
I don't know with the transition with the different rights holder companies, how that's all going to work and hiring an announcer. I'm just not sure. I think it is up in the air. I don't think they have made a decision yet, though.
So we're switching from Learfield to Playfly?
Yeah.
Yes. The Learfield contract is up on June 30, and the university has made the decision, the athletics department, to change rights holders, and Playfly will now be the rights holder for ECU athletics events, and a multimedia rights holder, as they say these days. They're going to be responsible for signage and, radio, TV, and just everything that East Carolina sells and markets. So this is going to be a change. I would like to say that I'm really sorry that Megan Henson, who has done such a great job, and I know how hard that job is because I did it for 18 years. Megan's been here for 15 years. She came here with ISP. Then, of course, it became ISP, IMG, Learfield. All that company's been spun off so many different times, but she has hung in there through all of those changes, and she's been here for 15 years. But she'll be winding up now, June 30th, with Playfly coming in as rights holder. And our loss is going to be somebody else's gain because Megan has done a wonderful job and she's a wonderful person. We really hate that she's going to be moving on, but new people are coming in and the new business is going to be here. And, we'll just continue to work as hard as we can and do what we can to make them successful like we have with Learfield over the last few years.
Not familiar with Playfly. Who are some of the schools they're currently contracted with, Jeff? Do you know?
Yeah, there are a few of them out there, Kyle, and they're getting more and more aggressive in acquiring rights to schools and even pro teams all around the country. They've got a couple in the SEC, I know, a little bit closer to home. They have the rights to Old Dominion. They have the rights to Richmond. I think they have the rights to Western Kentucky, a couple of SEC schools out west. They've got a number of schools as well. The lady who's the president of the company is the former commissioner of the WNBA. They are based out of Philadelphia, but they have offices all around the country. I don't, to be honest with you, know a whole lot about them, but we'll find out here in the next few months. But, there are going to be some changes, going to be some different people in here. I think they're talking about bringing in 5 people to run the business end of it, and they're going to bring in a general manager and probably at least 4 salespeople who are going to be out and about selling the Pirates every day. And I know they've promised the university some really nice things. So we'll see how it all works out.
And
Jeff, here within the last week, we had Corey Glore on the show to preview that Tulane basketball matchup. And I know Corey really took to social media and with his fond words toward Megan and everything she did for him during his time as the play-by-play voice of the baseball Pirates. And then also Johnny Gardner chimed in regarding the topic saying, I hope they have an equivalent of the varsity app for Play 5 Sports, that he really enjoyed that during this football and basketball season.
Yeah, well, again, I can't say enough good things about Megan, and she and I have been teammates, and she's done a wonderful job. And as I mentioned, I know how hard that job is because, as you guys, I think, know, and some of our listeners know, for 18 years, I ran the Pirate Sports Network lock, stock, and barrel out of my office, which means that I was selling all the advertising, clearing all the stations, doing all the production. And it's a big job. And, it's a thankless job because you get a lot of doors slammed in your face and you have to continue to work hard every day. That's the way sales is that way. And Megan's always had a great attitude, and she's made great strides with what we have done here. And she took things that I did and really took them to the next level. And she had the corporate support down through the years. When you go with one of these big companies, They have national advertisers, of which hopefully you can get a little piece of the pie. And so she was able to bring that to ECU, which we were not able to do, operating just independently, if you will. So she's done a great job. And her husband, of course, was a tennis coach here. And so they're going to move on, and they're both going to do very, very well. And we just wish Megan the best. She's a class lady.
No doubt, and that's some of the schools that they have the rights to from Maryland, UVA, LSU, Michigan State, Auburn, Southern Cal. Thank you, B-Pace. So they're starting to. It's one of those things where Learfield, as you know, Jeff has pretty much not a monopoly, but they have a really big presence there, and looks like Playfly, I guess they're going to try to really make a dent in that. It looks like over the last month or so that I'm hearing.
Well, it's a free enterprise system, guys. As we know, as we talked a little wrestling, it's AEW going after WWE, you know? And so that's the world that we live in, and that's a capitalistic society. And so Learfield's been really, really successful. And Ben Sutton, before Learfield, was just ISP, and it's amazing what he was able to do when he acquired the first property, which was Wake Forest University, where Ben had worked and is a Wake Forest graduate, law school graduate there. When he started the company, he went back to his alma mater, and that was the beginning of ISP. And then you fast forward, I guess, 20, maybe 25 years, and Ben Sutton has given $20 million to Wake Forest University. So obviously he has been very successful. And a lot of those facilities now you see over at Wake, guys, a lot of that Ben Sutton bankrolled. So he started with one little company, with one little school, and you just see what he's done. And then, of course, he spun it off and got out. And I think he's in California now. He's got some wine business going on out there and a bunch of other stuff that he's into. So he's been really successful. And, you know, Ben he's an Eastern North Carolina guy. He's from Murfreesboro. And his dad was a longtime professor at Chowan. And he grew up in Murfreesboro and then went to Wake Forest. So he's got those ties. He always had a little soft spot in his heart for ECU. And I got to know Ben years ago, and he would come out here at least once a year and come to a football game, sit in the booth with us, and really good guy. And again, his heart was always in the right place, even though they had expanded and they had dozens and dozens of properties. He really likes the Pirates and always tried to do what he could to help us.
No doubt about it. It's just one of those things, Jeff, as you know, with our business, if you're not growing, you're dying. I think that's one of the things that kills me is when with our deal with ESPN and ESPN Plus, you and I are both big on the left side of the screen, and for those who are watching, are big hockey fans, and I'm really happy for the NHL, UFC. There's a lot of great things that are happening on ESPN Plus, and I tell the story a lot. But if you're a basketball fan for East Carolina, we used to have 4 games on every year, as you know, Jeff, and now it's a lot of games on. It really helps the program, Joe, and recruiting and everything. So there's a lot of people that are having a difficult time thinking that Plus is a bad thing for the program, like it's a slight, when the reality is that's where streaming is where everything's going.
Yeah, you make a good point, David. That is exactly right. And, you know, from a radio network perspective, and I'm a radio guy first, what we can do now is we have so many different avenues to get the radio broadcast out, in which we used to not have. But just think of all the ways now that people can listen to our radio network broadcast as well. So, you know, that's been a positive too. But, you know, everywhere we go now with the streaming and the ESPN Plus, I mean, these games are televised in football or in basketball. And the one thing I think fans maybe don't quite understand is when they do watch a game, and let's say the game at Temple last week or whatever, and I will hear fans talk about, well, those ESPN announcers. Well, you know, the ESPN announcers for this ESPN Plus, these telecasts, are usually local guys who have been involved in the program. They're not the quote ESPN guys that are the national guys. It's like Cy Seymour's working the ESPN Plus games for us. And as we all know, Cy's a local guy, and he worked with me for 23 years. And Patrick Johnson is a local guy, and he does the play-by-play. So it's people like that in the different schools who are doing these games for ESPN Plus. They're not the quote ESPN guys. So I think people need to understand that it's more of a local flavor and it's a streaming device, but it's good exposure for the program. There's no question.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, as we mentioned earlier about, not knowing who the baseball announcer is. This is going to be our, God, unless I'm remembering wrong, guys, did we have full ESPN Plus exposure for baseball last year? I don't think we did. I think this is going to be our first year with full baseball.
I think this will be the first year too, Kyle.
Yes.
I do believe, yeah. And I'll tell you, the university has invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the infrastructure to do this. And all the schools in the American Athletic Conference have done that. And, it just gives people an opportunity across the country, especially or outside of the area here, to follow the games, video wise. I'm kind of different with all of that. I'm kind of a multitasker, and I kind of like to be doing a lot of things around the house or whatever and have the radio on and listen to the games and not have to be sitting right in front of a TV screen or computer screen and watching every single second. And I'm just of the type where I have to watch something that's produced well, or I can't really watch it. And, sometimes some of these games are not produced very well, and the camera angles aren't good. The announcers aren't very good. And I have a hard time sitting there watching it when it's not a very good production. But a lot of people, I hear people say this, well, at least it was on TV and I watched it, and that's fine. If people want to, watch the games, the way they are, that's certainly up to them. And I guess that's where my career professionalism comes in. I just like to see things done at a certain level, or I don't have I do have a hard time watching it if it's not.
The worst produced college football game I've ever seen in my life, and this is not involving East Carolina anyway, and this is not a slight at the university or anybody at the university. It's just speaking the truth. When we played at Old Dominion, Mike Houston's first year, that ESPN Plus production was the worst I've ever seen at the Division I FBS level. It was incredibly awful. I mean, it was unacceptably awful.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, Kyle. I do remember that game. Of course, I didn't see it. I was there broadcasting the game on radio. But yeah, and a lot of these schools are just getting into it at that point a couple of years ago, and they were just experimenting with the equipment and who's local that they can bring in to actually be the play-by-play announcer or the analyst. So there were some growing pains. There's no doubt about that. But again, it's hard for me as somebody who's been in this business for a long time to watch a game of any type that's not done well or is not produced very well.
Yeah,
no question about it. We have more questions and comments. In fact, Alan Vick, the voice, has always been a class act and a great guy, and ECU has been very lucky to have him. He's a true representative of what a professional and a gentleman should be in the broadcast industry. Amen. I can second that, knowing Jeff for a long time and putting up with me for my early days of broadcasting to now. Speaking of cutting teeth, you put up with me all the way back in 1996, voice. So
I remember those days, Dave. Yep. You were just a young pup back then.
23. Yeah, exactly. Justin Butt says he wants to know, how long do you want to be the voice of the Pirates?
I get asked that a lot now, and I think folks who follow the program closely realize that I did retire from the university. It's been about a year and a half ago now. And I had 33 years at the university and invested in the state retirement system. And for a lot of reasons, it was time to cut the cord. And I want to thank the ECU administration. John Gilbert was here at the time, and Dave Hart, of course, was here too. And Dave Hart hired me at ECU back in 1988. And Dave was very involved at that time, a couple of years ago, with the program and the transition with John Gilbert coming in. And I went to those guys and said, this is what I would like to do. And they listened, and they were just great about it. Said, if that's the direction you want to go, we'll certainly work with you. And so I went ahead and retired from the university with the feeling and with the agreement that then I could continue as the voice of the Pirates and working for Learfield. And it's worked out really well, guys. It really has. And it gives me the opportunity then to have my summers off and do the other things that I like to do in the summertime. So it's been good. But to answer your question, I really don't know. I still love what I do very, very much. I remember something that Larry King, guys, said a number of years ago. He said, love the work, hate the business. And sometimes I do feel that way because I don't like the direction college athletics is going in a lot of different ways. But as far as loving the work, I mean, I'll get as excited to do this game with Memphis on Saturday as any game, I did 30 years ago. So it's a labor of love. And I think most of the time, the guys that you talk with in this business, that's the way they feel about it. They love what they do. We don't get into this business to be millionaires, but it's such a passion. It's almost like a calling that we do what we do. And so I still really, really enjoy it. And, it's about the people, too. It's about the people you're working with and working for. And if you feel comfortable with them and you feel appreciated and they want you to continue to do it, that's a big part of it as well. But this is my 34th year. So God willing, I'll be back next fall for my 35th year. And I do think about this every now and then. Woody Durham did North Carolina games for 40 years, and Bob Harris did Duke games for 41 years. And I think those two guys were the longest running play-by-play announcers in the history of North Carolina. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm getting kind of close now to those guys, and maybe I can outlast them and get past the 40-year mark one of these days.
That would be great. And by the way, before we let you go, I know we have a question, but I want to, Bubba, I want to ask Voice this. We always give you the opportunity. It's hard to believe, Voice. We've been doing the show for 4 years. You've been on with us every single year. So thank you for that, first of all, from the very beginning. But also wanted to ask you about if you can talk about Mistletoe Therapy. I know that you're very passionate about that. You have been very great to tell our listeners and viewers about that in the past. So I told you when you first came on with us, we would give you that opportunity each time, and I want to keep my word before I forget.
Well, Dave, I appreciate it very much because anytime I have the opportunity to talk about Mistletoe Therapy, I do. And the reason why is because we can save thousands, and I mean thousands of people's lives if they would just learn about Mistletoe Therapy. And most people listening to this show, watching this show tonight, realize my cancer struggle. And I was not in a very good place 9 years ago. And I had gone through chemotherapy. I had had 7 surgeries. I'd spent 43 days at Vidant, and it was not looking good. And I just got frustrated with Western conventional medicine. And I thought to myself, there might be a better way to treat cancer out there. And I had no idea as to what that might be. But there's this little thing now called the internet that we can all go to, and we can learn a lot from it. And I went home one day frustrated with my doctor's appointment, and I just started hunting and pecking, and I found a wonderful lady in Baltimore, Maryland. Her name is Evilise Page, and she started a nonprofit there called BelieveBig.org. And she had a similar story to mine. And I called her, and we talked on the phone for about 10 minutes. And she said, you need to hang up the phone right now and call the Namaste Health Center in Durango, Colorado. And I did exactly what she told me to do. I called out there and I learned about Mistletoe Therapy. And mistletoe is just like what you think, the Christmas plant. And I am on a therapy and continue to this day. In fact, right before we had this interview planned, I gave myself a shot. And that's what I do 2 times a week. I give myself a shot of mistletoe. And it comes from Germany, actually, by way of Switzerland. And then it comes into this country. And what it is mistletoe like you talk and see during Christmas time. And it comes from a plant, the mistletoe plant. And it has been used in Europe, guys, for 100 years to treat people with cancer. If you lived in Germany or Switzerland or other countries in Europe and you were diagnosed with cancer, chances are those doctors there would prescribe mistletoe and get you started on a program with it. And it has had wonderful results for people for the last 100 years. They started treating people in 1920 with mistletoe in Europe. We know absolutely nothing about it in this country. And I'll tell you guys what really blew my mind when I was going through a tough time. And then I discovered this. I would say to my oncologist, I would say, are you guys aware of mistletoe? And I am going to try a different alternative approach. And these were doctors that had been treating people with cancer for 25, 30, maybe 35 years. And they would look at me with a deer in the headlights and they would say, I've never heard of it. And, again, they're not trained that way. And it's a therapy that has been developed in Europe. Well, make a long story short, I went out there. I was out there for 22 days. I took the mistletoe therapy every day. I went out there very ill. I told them I'm a guinea pig. You do with me what you want to do. Just throw the kitchen sink at me. I gotta try everything to get through this. So they did. I started feeling better about the 2-week mark out there. My body was able to take the mistletoe. Some people go out there and they can't. They have a bad reaction to it. I was fortunate I didn't. I came back home. I started feeling better, and I'm on this regimen now where I give myself 2 shots each and every week, and I feel wonderful. And this is coming from a guy who literally was on his deathbed. I mean, that's not an over dramatization. On December the 12th, 2012, they told my wife in the middle of the night that I wasn't going to make it. So I have come from there to where I am now. And the biggest reason why is because I went out to the Namaste Health Center in Durango, and I got treated with mistletoe, and then I made some other changes as well, but it's mostly the mistletoe that's responsible for my really wonderful health now. And I just can't speak enough about it to people. I've been fortunate that I've been asked to speak at some different conventions about it. I spoke a year and a half ago in Baltimore to the national convention there. And I just try and spread the word as much as I can. And over the years, we've probably sent at least a dozen people from Eastern North Carolina out to Colorado to get treatment. And they've all come back doing well and feeling a lot better. And it's just a matter of trying to get the word out and letting people know that, there is that therapy out there and there is help out there for them. And we've sent some very sick people out there and they have gotten help. So I'm always available to talk to folks. I probably on average talk to 1 or 2 cancer patients a week. Some of them go out there, some of them don't. It's a personal decision. But again, the help is out there if they're looking for it. And the wonderful doctors out there are just terrific in treating cancer patients. It's their life's work, and they're really dedicated to this natural approach to healing people. And it's wonderful therapy. It really is.
Jeff, do you know the survival rates for, say, Germany for treating cancer versus the U.S.?
That's a really good question, Kyle. I don't. I really don't know, and I would assume that there might be some statistics. I've never tried to look them up, but I'm Exhibit A as to what can happen, yeah. And I know a lot of people that I've been able to refer out there, and they've gotten help. They're doing well too. So that's good enough for me.
It just irritates me. Well, that's a whole nother podcast. My opinions on big pharmaceutical and medicine in general, and I'm sure you've got a lot of thoughts on that dealing with this. And it's just, to me, it's almost criminal for there to be another alternative treatment out there, something that's probably, for most people, as you mentioned, some people don't tolerate it, but for most people, it's probably way more tolerable than chemotherapy, which is hard on anybody. And it's criminal that it's out there, and it's probably intentionally being swept under the rug by big pharmaceutical in America because they hadn't figured out how to make enough money off of it yet.
Kyle, you hit the nail on the head. There's no doubt about that. And it's a natural substance. So, they can't really do anything as far as, bringing that in-house, if you will, or whatever. Now, what's going on is that at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, they are doing the clinical trials, and it takes a lot of money to do that. I think they're in the second clinical trial now. We do some little things with them, help them raise money. But it is, it's amazing you use that word because I've used the word criminal myself, to be honest with you. There's just, in this country, cancer, unfortunately, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it has been that for years. And basically, we are treating people in this country with cancer the exact same way we did years and years ago, decades and decades ago. And as I've researched this over the years, so when Richard Nixon was elected president, you know how many years ago that has been, in his speech, his inaugural speech, he says, "I'm going to end cancer in this country." And that's been, 50 some years ago. Well, people are dying of cancer at an alarming rate, and even more so now than they did back then. So we've really not made any progress with it. And it's because we continue to treat people the same way. And there's an alternative out there that can really help folks. And it's amazing to me because people can look at me and see what I've gone through and where I am today. But it's still a tough sell for a lot of folks because people are afraid of not doing what their doctor tells them to do. We've all grown up with the almighty doctor, and we do exactly what he says to do. And there are a lot of great doctors out there, but they don't know everything. And there's a segment of people in this country, doctors who have just never been trained in natural, alternative medicine. And they just, it's not their fault. They don't know anything about it. And it's out there and it can help people. So everybody I've ever talked with that's gone out there has come back with a great experience, and they've come back feeling a lot better. And so, again, the one thing that always comes up when I talk with people about this, and because it is a natural therapy, there's no insurance. Insurance does not cover any treatment that you get out there. But, most people have a good job and make a decent living. They can afford to go out there and get the treatment, and they work with folks financially too when they go out there and treat them. So again, I appreciate you, Dave, bring that up again, Dave, because every time I get a forum to talk about it, I do, and I'm fortunate in that I have a job and I have a platform and a forum to talk about, a vehicle to talk about something like this, because I am in the public eye at some point, and people do listen, and so it gives me a chance to talk about something that's very, very near and dear to my heart. And anything we could do to help people, that's what we're here for.
And I was on a Facebook message board. I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember what the discussion was, but I saw a lady post. You talking about her husband having cancer, and the treatment wasn't working, and et cetera. And I private messaged her and gave her I believe I gave her the number to your office at ECU. It was the only number I had access to, and I don't know if she ever contacted you or not, but I hope she did. And I'm sure you don't mind talking to anybody that wants to talk to you about it who needs help.
No, that's exactly right, Kyle. I mean, my number's out there. People can find me. A lot of people find me through pirate radio these days, since I don't have an office anymore at ECU. But you can always contact me through pirate radio, and they get a number of calls, and then they refer those folks to me. So, we talk with people across the country. I mean, we've talked to a lot of people here locally, but I've talked to people in Tulsa and Birmingham and a lot of different places, and they've all gone out there, and they've gotten help, and the doctors out there are just wonderful people. And I tell a lot of ladies who are dealing with cancer, I tell them, you'll feel very comfortable going out there, because all of the doctors, all the nurses, all the administrators are women. So it's an entire female operation, and they're just so compassionate, great compassionate people. And so I always tell, especially the ladies, you'll feel comfortable going out there. And so a lot of them do, and they do feel comfortable. And again, those folks out there are on a mission to help people and to do what they can to cure cancer. And there are some incredibly intelligent people out there that they are just light years ahead of a lot of Western conventional oncologists. And they're just wonderful people, and I've become friends with some of them. And there's a lady by the name of Dr. Nasha Winters, who has written a couple of books. She's in the process of releasing another one. I think it's going to be a New York Times bestseller, in all the research she has done and what she has done, with natural therapies to again, alternative approach to cancer. And she's just brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. And she is doing wonderful, wonderful things every day of her life to help people.
And you said that people are asking, that's in Colorado. Can you tell the name of the clinic as well?
Yeah, the name of the clinic, Dave, is the Namaste Health Center. It's Namaste, Namaste Health Center. It's in Durango, Colorado, which is in the southwest portion of the state. It's a beautiful area out there. It's a resort town, and that's where people go. Now, when I was going through this a number of years ago, there were only a handful of places in this country that you could get mistletoe. Now, as the years have gone on, there are more locations where you can get treated. And I've been talking to some folks here locally that didn't want to go that far. And there's a doctor I know now in Atlanta who is treating people, and he is able to administer mistletoe there. But, it's not like you can go to your local doctor and get it. I mean, there's still limited places where you can get it and get the treatment. But there are more places now popping up and more places in the Southeast that people might not have to travel that far to go out there. And it is, it is a hike. And especially if you're not feeling very well. I mean, I was not feeling well at all. I was coming off two major surgeries in each one of my lungs when I went out there, and I was a hurting puppy dog. And, it was a struggle just getting out there. So, I'm glad that we're seeing, some clinics maybe a little bit closer to home where people can maybe get in their car, and even if they have to drive to Atlanta, that's better than flying out to Colorado.
Jeff, when you with your cancer, it started off, if I remember correctly, it was colon cancer. Did it metastasize to your lungs?
Yes, you're exactly right, Kyle. It started out as colon cancer, and then it metastasized actually to both of my lungs. And
oh my God.
I had two tumors in my right lung, and I had another tumor on my left lung. And I had been in remission for 21 months. And I was naive enough to think that I had beaten cancer. And then I got a call. I had, regular scans, and I got a call from my oncologist here in Greenville 8 days after I had the scan. And, really, oftentimes when you go to the doctor and you don't hear back from them, the news is good. It's not bad news. So I really hadn't even thought about it and really had totally forgotten about it. Well, 8 days after the scan, the doctor calls me and says, you need to come to my office right away. And so I knew it wasn't good. And so I went out there, and I had two tumors in my right lung, and I had one tumor in my left. And he said, you're going to have to get these out. And I'll never forget this. I said, well, look, you know already what I've been through. And I think at that point I'd already had 5 surgeries. And he's telling me I have to have 2 more. And he's saying the cancer's back. And I'm going like, well, let's put the cards on the table. And I'm a big boy now. Let's just talk about, what are we dealing with really? And he said, well, you're just going to continue to get more tumors. And that was my light bulb moment. And that's when I left the office and I started the research with the natural alternative approach, utilizing mistletoe therapy. And it was something that, has been just a godsend for me. And so, yeah, I went through a real tough time. And again, I tell people who are really sick and really ill with cancer, just look where I've been. I mean, I've literally been on my deathbed, and I've come back from this, and I tell them and encourage them that you can do the same thing. You can do it too. And a lot of people, like I say, they go out there and they get a lot better. So we just do the best we can, try and get the word out.
Yeah, when you're talking about cancer just metastasized and you're sitting here 9 years later, that's all the proof I need of mistletoe therapy. And then we'll wrap this up and won't keep you all night. But is this something you will do the rest of your life? The mistletoe therapy, is it just continuous?
Yeah, I think so, Kyle. And what they do, it's like any type of medicine. They change it, they make tweaks to it. And the mistletoe that I was on originally was from an oak tree, and now I'm on mistletoe from a pine tree. And so my blood, when I do my blood work in the labs here in Greenville, they actually send them to my doctor in Colorado, and she sends the blood work to Germany as well. So I've also got a doctor in Germany who continues to stay up with me, who's a mistletoe doctor that's, one of the foremost actually in the world, which I am so blessed to have these people. And so, yes, they make tweaks to it. I'm a little bit of a stronger dose now, but believe me, they watch me like a hawk, and I do my labs, about every 4 months or so. And it's something that I'll probably have to do. But hey guys, it's no big deal. You just do a little pop in the belly twice a week, and you go about your business. And there's really nothing to it.
And what's that website again, Jeff, if people want to find out more information?
Yeah, more information there. I'll give you a couple of them here, Dave, that are really good. They can go to the Namaste Health Center. You can just Google up Namaste Health Center. And that's the clinic that I went to in Colorado. BelieveBig.org is in Baltimore. And what they do is they help patients with cancer with mistletoe therapy and direct them in the proper way. And they're also very involved in these clinical trials at Johns Hopkins. And then there's another really good website for folks who are dealing with cancer that I always talk about too. And it's called chrisbeatcancer.com. Chris, CHRIS, chrisbeatcancer.com. And this is a young man. He's only in his 40s, and he lives in Memphis. And he was in really bad shape as well. And then he discovered alternative medicine and a different approach to cancer. And he's put this wonderful website together, and he's actually made a career out of it. And this is all he does now is he goes around and, he appears at these different conventions with his story and talks to so many doctors and people who are involved in alternative care now. And he has a wonderful website that has just great information on. So I always direct people to that website as well, chrisbeatcancer.com. It's a wonderful tool.
Now, Jeff, final question from our viewer, Andrew DiGiovanni, coming from the Pirates Cove on our Facebook account. Andrew said, what are some of your top calls on a top 3, top 5? Obviously, the Peach Bowl is one that comes to mind, as well as a whole lot of others.
Yeah, Peach Bowl, of course, that's number one, always will be. What a great day that was for the Pirates, as we all remember. It seems like it was yesterday in a lot of ways, and we know how long ago it has been. It's been a generation ago, and you talk to kids today, and they don't have any recollection of it, of course. But, that whole season and the game, everything, you just couldn't write a better script for that. I still say the Pittsburgh game that year at Ficklin Stadium at the time, when stadium only sat 35,000. We had 36,000 people there. I still think that was the most electric atmosphere I've ever seen in Greenville. And that was such a great win when Jeff Blake scored on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. So I put that one right up there as well. I can think a game that we don't talk about very much that was a big win for the program during the 1990s was the win over Stanford. I mean, East Carolina was still kind of a Johnny-come-lately. And to beat a Pac-12 program, in a bowl game was a big deal. And that was a very exciting game. And then, of course, in basketball, winning the CAA tournament was big. Going out to Weber State and winning the CIT was good. And I was dealing with cancer there. And, again, the university came to bat for me because I was not able to really navigate on my own at that time. So ECU gave my wife a seat on the airplane on the charter that we went out there, and so my wife went out there to help me along. And if they wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have been there for the game. I wouldn't have been able to call it unless she was there. So they kind of got me in there and got me out, but I was able to broadcast again. Such a great game. So all of those games, guys, are really, certainly at the top of the list. There have been some great memories. There's no doubt about that. And again, I say at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, they can probably say on my tombstone, I'm the only play-by-play announcer who was actually broadcasting games while taking chemotherapy treatments courtside, because that's what I did. That's what I did that year that the Pirates won the CIT tournament. I was broadcasting games with what's called an infusion pump right here on my shoulder. And people couldn't see it because I had it under my shirt, but I was taking chemotherapy treatments for 48 hours every week, and I was still doing the game. So whatever, right?
Whatever it
double
takes.
tough.
Hey, and it's safe to say that was Cy Seymour, your former color analyst for all those years. That was Cy's top call that night at Weber State when he said, "What a shot, Jeffrey."
What a great shot, Jeffrey. And, that's the emotion of the moment, and that's what makes radio or TV calls for sporting events so great, because it's the emotion of the moment and it's so genuine.
No doubt. Voice, I know the big game is on Saturday. We want to pack Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum. I want Pirate fans to go and get tickets, ecpirates.com or 1-800-DIAL-ECU. I'll be there. I'm bringing my kids there on Saturday at 4 o'clock. Is that a 3:30 broadcast for you guys?
Yeah, we'll go on the air at 3:30. Bud Light countdown and tip-off show, and 4 o'clock. And thank you, Dave, for that plug. I really, really hope we've got a great crowd out there from Memphis. I think it could really help the Pirates if that place is full on Saturday afternoon.
And one final thing, Coach is doing an excellent job with you. I know Cy went over the TV side of things, but I really like his call with you. I think you guys have got a really good chemistry this year. I've been excited about. I didn't know how that was going to sound. Obviously, you never know. but I thought he's done a nice job jumping in there with you, and really does a good job breaking down the game for folks.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave, and I will certainly send those comments to Michael Perry. And Mike really knows the game. You know, he's been a head coach at the collegiate level at Georgia State. He's been an assistant in a whole bunch of places, was the interim head coach here when Coach Lebo resigned, and he really knows the game well. And you're right, he had never done any radio or TV work or any broadcasting at all. So, you know, we broke him in. And the good thing about Mike is he's such a wonderful guy, and he's easy to work with, and he wants to learn. And he's very attentive, and he's like, you know, you show me the ropes here and I'll do whatever you want me to do. And he's been really good. And I've been really impressed with how he's been able to share his knowledge to the radio network listening audience. I mean, he's done a really good job with that. He points out a lot of really, really good stuff during the game. So, yeah, I'm really pleased to have Mike. He's become a good friend, and can't wait to work with him again on Saturday.
No doubt. Hopefully we can get a big crowd and a big Pirate victory. And I'm hoping that you'll be saying when I'm listening to the game, at the game, that we can paint this one purple. So I hope we can do that on Saturday, my friend.
Yeah, you and me both, Dave. You and me both. It's a lot of fun to say that after Pirate wins, and hopefully we can say it a bunch more this basketball season.
No doubt. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll have you on again soon. Thanks for the visit.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Bubba. Thank you, Kyle. You guys have a great night. And again, thanks to all the great Pirate fans out there. They're the best, and we appreciate each and every one of you.
Appreciate you.
No doubt. Appreciate it, Jeff. All right. Good night. Thank you. Well, what a night. Speaking of Pirates, being at Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum on Saturday, Bubba. We want to get those fans out there, and certainly, speaking of fans, how about the Minges Maniacs? We want to get them to make sure that they're there around the court and very loud and proud for the Pirates, right?
Yeah, this guy does a tremendous job leading that organization, the Minges Maniacs, and welcome to the show for the first time. And hopefully we'll have him back periodically throughout the season and in years to come. And that is their president, Zac Phelps. Zac, we appreciate your time this evening.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Good to be here. Always good to come and talk to some Pirate fans.
No doubt, Zac. I appreciate it. I think you have the longest wait in the history of the green room. So thank you for the patience of Job, as they say. We appreciate it very much.
Who am I to rush a legend like Jeff Charles? That's not first time guest. I can't do that yet.
No doubt. We wanted to talk about getting fans, especially this particular case with you guys. We love the Minges Maniacs. I'm actually, I guess, pre-Minges Maniacs. I don't think we had them there at that point, but certainly love going to college basketball games as a student at ECU in the early to mid 90s. Talk about certainly Saturday. We want to get a lot of people there. Talk about what you guys are doing to try to get more students there in that lower bowl, those bleachers there, right courtside.
Definitely want to get as many students and people in general as we can there. Big conference game against Memphis. You know, ECU showing that, you know, this isn't your dad's, your granddad's ECU basketball anymore. Like ECU showing they can compete with some of the top dogs in the American. This is kind of like a yardstick game to see where we compete. You know, Memphis has one of the top recruits in the country. Coach Penny Hardaway, we're going to see how we measure up with them. So it's crucial that we get Minges packed and make it loud. There's 2,000 free T-shirts to the first 2,000 students there. Shout out Eric Ward over at ECU Athletics designing those and reaching out to me about doing that. That was a genius idea. So he's always got great ideas, and we're looking forward to Saturday.
I had one question for you. Something that obviously other schools, I know Duke does it with Sheshetskyville, and through the years back in the early 2000s, we had Bill Harrion, and we had like big games like this where we had students camp out. Is that something as a huge college basketball fan, you know how much I love the Pirates. What can we do something like that to really drum up interest? Because I really believe Dooley's done a nice job, and I love you guys. Obviously, love the enthusiasm when I'm there at the games covering the Pirates.
I mean, to get kids these days to sleep outside for a college basketball game that's not a top 10 team in the country is going to be a stretch. But I think the biggest thing that ECU can do to get kids out there is, I mean, it's plain and simple, and that's just win. I mean, we've seen it with football over the past few years when they've been struggling, going 3-9, stuff like that. Student attendance has been down. Especially, you get to the fourth quarter, ECU's down 3 touchdowns. People are already heading downtown, stuff like that. But, now that ECU's got a good and respectable football program and is competing with SEC programs like South Carolina, getting big home wins in the American, students are coming. The Boneyard's filled up. Kids aren't leaving at halftime. And it's going to be the same formula for basketball. Kids will come out and see a winning product. And I really think Dooley and the guys are starting to put that on display for us.
Now, Zach, before we continue to talk about the Minges Maniacs and your involvement there, I know you have a long history with East Carolina, going back to the Skip Holtz days. And as far as you were Elvis for some fans, I think, Kyle, you recalled that, right?
No, he
okay. I think Kyle, I'm mixing you up with Johnny. Johnny. Okay, Gardner.
Well,
Johnny Gardner and I were talking.
Zach was clearly a toddler Elvis. For Skip Holtz.
I was like elementary school Elvis. It was. Let's see, that was like what 09. So I mean, I was
08, 09.
Yeah, like I was 8 years old, and my mom's friend made me a. Here, I got a picture of it, but it's basically just a purple and gold Elvis costume, and I wore it when we went to Memphis both years. I thought I was the coolest person in Memphis. I was having the time of my life. People were tipping me. I got on stage at Silky O'Sullivan's bar at like 8 years old.
And that's the funny thing that I remembered it at the time, and obviously, of course, had no idea it was you, Zach. If you want to text me that picture, and we'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I got you.
No question. That's really cool. That's for those that don't know, I'm a huge Elvis fan, and unfortunately,
everybody knew that, Dave.
Okay, yeah, okay. But I between that and I've always wanted to go to the Liberty Bowl. I love Memphis, even though I've never been there. There's so many great things, including we've been talking about wrestling. Kyle knows about how great that wrestling territory was.
Oh, yeah, Memphis was a huge wrestling territory. Yeah. Joey the King Lawler, Tommy Rich, several other guys. It's an interesting territory, too.
No doubt. But that and the fact of Beale Street, with a lot of great places to eat there, a lot of great music venues for concerts, seeing live music. And then, of course, Graceland. I mean, I've always wanted to go there. But what was it like? So you had basically, what was that, maybe second grade, third grade? You're there in Memphis, and you were one of the bright spots, obviously, of that weekend.
I guess so. I mean, 8 and 9 years old and freezing cold. Right before the parade started, I just sent the picture to Bubba, but it's me running down Beale Street like 5 minutes before the parade started. If I did it today, I'd probably get arrested, but it wouldn't be as funny. But I mean, it was funny. We go to the game and didn't go the way we wanted, but wake up in the hotel room the next morning, turn on SportsCenter, and like within 10 seconds of the broadcast, there I am on SportsCenter. And so I thought I was king of the world for being 9 years old.
No doubt. I mean, we've never been on SportsCenter before, not that I know of. But I've
been on SportsCenter several times.
Oh, because you're the coolest, yeah. Kyle. That's why.
Play of the day, over and over again.
I'm not touching that one, but anyway, I tell you what, that's really cool. As far as Minges Maniacs, if there's students watching, I want to give you an opportunity to plug I love the organization. How can we get more students to join? Is it like a limit on that? Is there a cap on how many people can join? Can you tell us about the organization?
So I was kind of texting with Bubba earlier, and I kind of told him that. So my freshman year, 2 years ago, I was talking with our president at the time, CJ Schaefer, shout out, who's now over at Pirate Radio, and he and I were kind of talking about like if there should be a membership form or something that people should fill out to be an official member. And we talked about it, and we kind of were like, this kind of sounds like a cult. Like if you want to come to an ECU game as a student and you want to sit in the Boneyard, or you want to sit in the jungle in right field, or you want to sit in the lower bowl of Minges, like you shouldn't feel obligated to fill out a form. So it's not like we have an exact number of students that we have, as registered members. We kind of just like to keep it open to everybody for whoever wants to come and be rowdy in Minges.
So, did you guys cut out the blood sacrifices?
Yeah, that was cut out well before I was joined.
Okay.
All
right, good.
Kyle, you're part of the wrong group. You might be with the cool kids with Zach. The Minges Maniacs. Seriously, with the T-shirts with 2000, getting back to that. I tell you what, Bubba and Kyle and I have talked about this on air, off air. Minges, Williams Arena is one of the best places to watch a basketball game. It is you don't even have to have 7,000-8,000 there, Zach, as you know, to be really loud. Like, what will it take for us to get that lower bowl where you have the students are rowdy, the Minges Maniacs, and then we're working on trying to get the adults up in the upper level as well to come out. And Saturday at 4:00, are you kidding me? What else are you doing in Greenville, North Carolina, on a Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m.?
Exactly. Saturday at 4 that's the bread and butter spot for a conference matchup, especially against a team like Memphis. I saw the date that it was going to be on a Saturday against Memphis. I was like, okay, we got a big time game on a Saturday. That's huge. We should, and it's right after students get back. And I was like, it's going to be a 7:00 tip off, and no students are going to go because, there's other things to do for ECU students on a Saturday night. But I saw 4:00. I was like, it's perfect. Like, you said it best. There's nothing else really to do in Greenville on 4:00 other than go watch the Pirates. We had a game earlier where we got over 1,000 students in there. I think between a team like Memphis coming and 2,000 free T-shirts, I'd be shocked if we didn't get back over 1,000 for this one.
Do you guys do anything? You mentioned the free T-shirts that Eric Ward's put together for students. Do you guys do anything as an organization, as the Minges Maniacs, to try to get students to come out? Just personally. I mean, obviously the T-shirt promotion, but I mean, without involving Eric Ward, et cetera, just you guys yourselves.
Obviously, T-shirts. We've had T-shirts before. These are new T-shirts. These are much better looking T-shirts. Our Twitter account has really grown over the past year. I think it's definitely been a couple hundred, probably close to 1,000 followers since regionals of baseball season last year, the conference tournament. Is when we kind of really saw the growth. So the Twitter account does a lot, trying to advertise, getting people out to games. And, with a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old college kids, word of mouth is the best way. One of your buddies texts you, what are you doing Saturday afternoon? You say, I'm going to the ECU Memphis game. You should come with me. You're going to go more than likely than just seeing a commercial for it or hearing an ad for it.
No, I got an idea, Zach. This is an idea. Dave's a single man. He's in his 40s. Now, you mentioned the girls are 18 to 22, so they're of age. What about the one of the young ladies, if you attend the game, wins a date with Dave?
I think we'd sell out. We need more than 2,000 T-shirts, that's for sure.
There you go.
Get your confidence in there. Of course, he throws me under the bus. I guess I'm taking one for the team, but for sure, you can put yourself in the conversation there, Kyle.
I'm married. What are you talking about? If any 18 to 22-year-old co-eds in East Carolina would like a date with Kyle, we'll make that happen. That's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I know that now we have the picture of you. There we go. Thank you, buddy. That's amazing. That is absolutely. I have to give you major props. That's absolutely amazing. Zach, you're the man. It's not me. Obviously, to run down there right before the parade and look at that. Where did you get that costume from? That's
custom made.
It was made. It was made, custom fit for me. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit anymore. I probably break it out for this Saturday.
I don't know. I wouldn't go unfortunate, Zach. If that costume still fit you, you would be a dwarf.
Yeah. Probably a good thing it's not still fitting me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, what we got to do? Who made that for you? Do you know who your parents got to make that?
Aunt. It was my aunt.
Is your aunt still with us?
Yes.
Well, you got to get your aunt to make you a new one. And we're gonna challenge your aunt. If the Pirates make any sort of postseason basketball, what year are you, Zach?
Junior.
All right. So in the next 2 years, if the Pirate make, even if it's CBI. I don't think we're eligible for the CIT now. I don't think American teams are eligible for the CIT. So even if it's CBI, if East Carolina makes any postseason basketball, CBI, NIT, obviously NCAA. We got to get your aunt to make you a new Elvis costume to wear to the first round tournament game.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her. I mean, it would definitely. I mean, it'd be big for the brand.
That would be.
It would.
Hey, I'm hoping that definitely happens, and so does a lot of people in Pirate Nation.
Quick side note is dressing up. Just so it's out there, our punishment for our fantasy football league, me and my buddies here at school, was last place has to go to the ECU Memphis game dressed as a princess, holding a sign that says "I suck at fantasy football." And even though I finished 6th in total points out of a 12-team league, I got some bad matchups, so I'll be attending Saturday's game, not wearing one of these brand new T-shirts, but instead dressed as a princess. So,
well, that's all right. It's
as long as
that.
you're a purple princess.
Well,
yeah,
we'll
see.
It's 2022, so it's all right. You can dress as a princess, and nobody will even notice, probably.
The first dress that I find that fits me is probably going to be the one we roll with. So maybe it's purple, maybe it's not.
Yeah, maybe Lane Bryant might be a good place to look.
Hey, maybe you can get Rasheed Wallace to look twice.
Yeah, I mean, I went out accessory shopping today, and I got a little tiara and a wand, and I sent a Snapchat to my buddies, and I was like, imagine missing a free throw and then getting chirped from a guy wearing this. So,
are you gonna wear a wig? A wig? Are you gonna wear a wig?
No, the tiara is already too tight on my big head.
It says
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna go full drag, but not wear a wig. So are you gonna do makeup? Are you gonna look like a dude in a dress, or are you gonna make yourself look like a chick?
I'm probably gonna look like a dude in a dress.
Oh, you gotta go full on, man. You gotta get a wig. You gotta put on makeup. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right.
Yeah, well, we'll see how the budget.
There you go. He said he has a purple wig you could use.
Yeah,
Mallory. Mallory.
Yeah.
That is definitely a C. Yeah, that's okay.
Corey and Mallory are always looking to set me up for failure. Corey's my longtime girlfriend of over 5 years now, and Mallory is her roommate, and Mallory loves to laugh at me. We'll leave it at that.
All right.
Well,
there you go.
Another reason
Wiley Jackson said tailored fit for the elite.
Yeah. Wiley gets it.
No doubt about it. And how many people have you heard? Do you have any idea how many students are going to come to the game? Do you guys ever know that beforehand, or they're just going to show up to see?
It's always kind of hard to get an estimate, I try not to bug like Eric or anybody else at the athletics department about that stuff. But, I mean, like I said, Memphis coming to town with a couple guys that are probably going to go into the league. And, I mean, just a coaching staff that's so well known. And the Pirate, that plus free T-shirts, plus the Pirates being a solid team this year. I think we'll top. I can't remember what game it was that we had like 1,100 students at, but I think we'll definitely top it.
Now, Zach, Corey approves of the use of Mallory's wig.
I'm sure.
And Mallory,
I'm not surprised.
Mallory said, "I'm your friend, Zach."
Yeah. So friends are for.
Exactly. That's I tell you what, I give you major props for going through that, but man, that's a brutal, very brutal. Knowing fantasy football is very hard. People think it's easy. If you think it's easy, then try it. Then you'll find out how difficult fantasy football is, for sure. But anyway, I don't want to get off too much of a tangent on fantasy football, but certainly with this Pirate team, I want to get your thoughts as a student.
Wait a minute, I gotta ask Zach one more question here about the about going in drag here and the lovely Mallory and Corey, your girlfriend. Now, will they? Since Mallory says she'll offer you a wig. All right, can we get Corey and Mallory to do? Ladies, you got to do Zach's makeup. We got to get him in full makeup. We need eyeshadow, blush, eyeliner,
purple lipstick,
full on.
I can't get out of it now. You put me in a hole, I'm not gonna be able to dig myself out of.
You're gonna sell it, man. Sell it. Go all the way.
I'll wear makeup to the game Saturday if you do.
Corey's even saying, "Can we actually?"
No.
Yes, I think that's the only way to do it. I think what you got to do, see if they can make you pretty enough. See if they can make you pretty enough for a dude to hit on you. That's what we got to do. We got to see if the ladies can make you pretty enough to get a guy to make a pass at you.
That should be part of the punishment. You have to wear the costume until a guy gives you a compliment. Next year. We'll do it for next year's league.
Okay, enough of that talk. Let's talk about basketball. I just want to get your take, and maybe the students, your friends, and obviously girlfriend chiming in on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Talk about Joe Dooley. Talk about this team. I know you're talking about a great team, but I want to get your reaction because I think, unfortunately, there's some in Pirate Nation that are not being fair to Dooley and this team, and it's never good enough. The Pirate basketball team is never good enough. Even though we're making strides, we're not there yet, but we're making strides in the right direction. Just want to get your thoughts as a member of the Minges Maniacs.
Well, to anybody that wants to knock Joe Dooley on the job he's done so far, I would simply tell them, you try and be the head coach for ECU men's basketball and see how you do, because it's not an easy job. Let's face it, it's not the main sport at ECU. It's not. We're in the shadows of Duke, State, Carolina, Wake Forest, all these big, even UVA, all these big schools nearby that, every time it seems like we get a kid come out of Eastern North Carolina, it doesn't matter how good of a recruiter you are. It's hard to keep up with those big guns out of the ACC. He's shown strides. The team's gotten better every year. I think he's done a really good job of making the team deeper and better as a whole, and not just focused around one guy like we've kind of seen in the past. And the transfer portal is kind of new and not as and it's more popular than it used to be. So Dooley's really the only coach that we've seen, coach at ECU with the big transfer portal and how popular it is. And no disrespect to any previous coaches at ECU, but I don't think any of them would be able to get the talent that Dooley does out of the transfer portal. I don't know if we're getting a guy like Vance Jackson or Winston Tabbs, without Dooley. He's definitely got a reputation. And, the goal for ECU men's basketball is always going to be to, compete in the conference and make the tournament. And Dooley's on the right track to do it. He'll get there one day. He can. It's bound to happen. You can't miss the tournament 100 straight years.
Now, Zach, you bring up Vance Jackson. What a performance Vance had last night, a career high. His previous career high of 30 had come during his New Mexico days, maybe against Fresno State or somebody like that. But last night, Vance really put the team on his back, 35 points, 9 rebounds. What a performance. And then here, I guess, 3 games ago now against Tulane. What a performance by Tristan Newton. He did something very similar. I think he finished with a career high 32 in that one against the Green Wave.
Yeah, Vance and Tristan are both, really special guys, probably 2 of the best guys, that we've seen in Minges in recent history. And I think it's really helped the team as a whole. I talked about Dooley making the team better and deeper on the bench and stuff like that. This isn't a team that shows up and Jaden Gardner gets triple teamed. And if he can't beat the triple team that night, ECU's not going to crack 60 points. This is a team that can shoot the 3, which, in recent history has been non-existent. We've got a guy like Vance that can bully people down low, and he can also shoot mid-range, and he can really hit the 3 at an elite level, especially for his size. And, I'm usually sitting, right on the front row of those bleachers, and when Vance shoots, and I've kind of got an angle on it to see it, it's a shot like you'd never seen before, the way he just, flicks it and hits the bottom of the net. Tristan's the same way. And those are 2 guys that, if both of them are playing to the best of their abilities on the same night, then, ECU can take on anybody in this conference. We saw it last night down 23, and Vance turned it on and almost came back and won. And, all the pieces around them they understand their role. Nobody tries to do too much for this team, I don't feel like. And they all got one goal, and that's to win together as a team.
Now, Zach, we talked about your Liberty Bowl experience back when you were in 2nd or 3rd grade. So, tell us about during your middle school days, do you recall one of our viewers here, Johnny Gardner, chimes in on Facebook? Do you remember Seabass at the East Carolina games? He was the guy that looked like Joe Dirt. He was
I do.
at least 6'5" or 6'6".
Yeah, I remember one day I came home from I think it was like baseball practice in middle school or something. But my dad was, watching online, how you used to did in the old days before ESPN Plus on ECUPirates.com. And I see this guy on the TV. I'm like, what in the world? And my dad was like, yeah, they call him Seabass. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And here I am, 3 or 4 presidents later, Seabass Junior, I guess.
Back in the old days.
Yeah, way back when.
And Zach, you noticed probably in the little promo clip that I did that's on our YouTube channel, if you'd like to check it out for our viewers and listeners. But it was promo for the Memphis game on Saturday, and I included a little clip that had Seabass there getting the Minges Maniacs riled up. I guess is back in 2013.
Kick his ass, Seabass. What's that from?
I don't know, but certainly the game is going to be.
Movie. I got to look that up now.
You're being serious?
Yes.
Gotcha. I thought that was a shot at me because I always quote that movie. No, it's Dumb and Dumber.
Okay, yeah, I should have known. The Dumb and Dumber foremost expert, Bubba Rosenbaum. Yeah, kick his ass, Seabass is from Dumb and Dumber. That's right. Zach, if you ever want to know anything about the movie Dumb and Dumber, Bubba Rosenbaum is your Huckleberry. Yeah.
No, I
know. Mark Calloway, thank you for viewing, obviously, tonight and listening as well. Zach, obviously, the big crowd, we hope for that. One final thing we want to ask you. Thank you, Bubba. You read my mind. What's the predictions for Saturday's game? Rick Booth on YouTube is asking. And Bubba and I are like, that's awesome. Appreciate you, brother, for doing that. He knew where I was going.
Rick wants me to he really wants me to call it Luigi DeBow triple-double. And I'm not afraid to call it because if I do call it, I can refer to this. And if I do call it and it doesn't happen, then it, I'm just the first time guest that made a dumb take. But I'll go Luigi DeBow triple-double. Let's see. I'm looking at the spread right now. It's not out. Doesn't matter. I'll take Pirates 76, Memphis 73.
3 points.
3-1 for the Pirates. We'll take it and go home happy.
Yeah, be surprised if it hits, but Minges would be a madhouse if it did.
Well, that's a great point that you make, though, Zach. We're doing very, very well at home, still undefeated, right? So the road is where we've had the trouble. And another thing is we even played Memphis a couple years ago very well at Memphis. We've had our moments. We beat Houston last year. We've been Cincinnati at home early on, a few years ago. I think Dooley's first year back. So it's possible that we could get that upset against Memphis on Saturday. And if you're in Pirate Nation and you're listening right now, viewing right now, then come on out. You can be a part of history. You can say, I was at that game. And like Kyle would always say, people are going to lie anyway and pretend they were at that game, but you can actually tell the truth that you were at that game.
Yeah, we definitely need to have something to make up for the Houston win last year. I remember me and all my buddies were watching in our apartment thinking the whole time, there's no way we close this out. There's no way we close this out. And then we close it out and we're like, it's brutal that we're not there storming the court right now. So, this Saturday, it's not going to, it wouldn't be as sweet as knocking off a top 5 team in the nation, but it'd be pretty nice to get it, especially back having people in there too.
Are you going to storm the court?
Are
they in the top 25?
No, they've fallen out.
They're like 9 and 6.
Yeah.
No, don't storm the court. No. That's like as bad as when we beat NC State at home when we stormed the court.
In 2007.
Great moment, and it was awesome, but they were not a good basketball team.
No, they were not. City Lowe's jacket was better than the team. For sure. But
and then a week and a half later, we lost to Lee University, NAI school out of Tennessee.
And to make it better, after we beat NC State, we beat George Mason, then lost to Lee. And that was George Mason coming off their Elite Eight run.
Final Four run.
Yeah.
Final Four run. Okay.
No doubt. Well, Zach, I guess you said that you don't have to worry about filling out a form. So people that are just, if they're students, they can come there. What about Kyle? We can get him back in school, like a non-traditional student. He can sit with you guys, right?
Yeah, Kyle, just, start taking like one class a semester for grad school or something. And, you can get down there. We're not
grad school. How's it going? You just upped my resume quite a bit. Grad school.
Speaking of movies, one of my favorite movies is Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield from the 80s. I love that movie, and Kyle would be awesome. Kyle's a cool, I got to give him credit on there and off there. He's a cool dude, and he would definitely be fitting with you guys.
Really? I mean, I just ooze cool.
Hey, Dave, we have a former Pirate point guard chiming in, Tony Parham from up in the D.C. area. Tony said he loves the Maniacs, and, it was right there. It was Brian Dilday, who is the megaphone guy, or one of the megaphone guys, and the OG megaphone guy at Clark LeClaire Stadium. So you had Brian Dilday. I remember him back in the day at Williams Arena when it first opened after the renovation. He was part of the original Maniacs, like Tony Parham was referencing.
No doubt. And again, love the place. And let's get the people in there. We're hoping that we can get, like we said, all the students there. And then, maybe we can get 4,000 or 5,000. That would be fantastic, especially in the unfortunate COVID world we live in right now. I think a lot of people, and Omicron, I think everybody's very scared of that still, unfortunately. But anyway, Zach, man, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you representing Elvis and Minges Maniacs. And hey, by the way, before we go, can you send us a picture and of the princess picture, and we'll put it up on social media? I know you'll just love that, but can you be a good
I'll tweet it out at the game on Saturday, and I'll tell you guys to make sure the whole world can see it. And I mean, I'll be wearing it front row right behind beside Seymour, so I'd imagine I'd be on the broadcast with it too. So if you see some idiot dressed as a princess, you'll know who it is.
Purple wig, full makeup. Do it, baby. Do it.
Now, Zach, plug your Minges Maniacs Twitter.
Yeah, follow our Twitter account if you aren't already. It's at Minges_Maniacs. That's where we're mostly active. I hate to toot our own horns, but we got some pretty good content on there, some pretty funny stuff.
Now, I'll tell you how to do that, Zach. Zach, what you do, you say, I hate to toot my own horn, but toot, baby.
I knew that was coming. Zach, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. Again, thanks for your patience in the green room, and we look forward to the princess outfit on Saturday and a big Pirate win, brother.
Big Pirate win.
All right. Hope you have a great night. Appreciate you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Pirate. No problem. Well, great night with Zach and, of course, The Voice. And, guys, I want to remind fans to get your baseball tickets. Right, BubbaECPirates.com, 1-800-DIAL-ECU. And we're hoping that we can get over, I believe the record was over 2,300.
No.
Is that all right?
The ticket office told me correctly at the beginning of the week this is 1,764, 1,746, something like that. But and like I said, this was as of Monday or Tuesday. There was between 1,500, maybe pushing 1,600 sold. So
okay.
That even though the priority deadline is passed, sometimes people get that confused. You can still order season tickets for a while, up until the first game and probably even maybe beyond it. But, considering you have, between 30 and 35 home games, but
you can, yes.
But that record, I will not be surprised to see that fall.
That's a good problem to have, no doubt. And top 10 program, that we know about. And so we'll see how they do this year. Good luck to Coach Godwin. And the banquet, man, sold out so quick. That's coming up in a month, not even less than a month. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be baseball season in a month. When's our first game, guys? Around Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
February 19th, 3-game series against the Bryant Bulldogs, I believe they are. Bryant, of course, we had an excellent game with them in the Charlottesville Regional back in 2016 when we made the run to the Super Regionals out in Lubbock.
Yeah, and so that'll be a good start to the season, and looking forward to it, man. Anytime this gets to be baseball time, gets exciting around here again, and not to take anything away from basketball, but it's always fun when you're the big dog, and when baseball season walks around, we're one of the big dogs, and it's kind of an always change of atmosphere. Football, you always feel like it's an uphill battle. You kind of embrace that role as being the underdog. In basketball, it kind of is what it is, but in baseball, tide kind of turns, and we become the hunted, and that's fun for a little while.
No doubt. And by the way, before we go, Bubba's got up there on the screen for those watching. For those listening, it says join the Pirate Club today, 252-737-4540. You can go to ecupirateclub.com and one pirate at a time. And by the way, Bubba, I know I told you in our group text, you've done an awesome job getting former players and coaches and different folks that are doing these videos. And I just want to give you a shout out that before we go, I know you've got a promo that you want to play too.
Yeah, as we're wrapping this show up, we'll take you to the conclusion of this podcast with some words from East Carolina assistant track and field coach Udon Cheek, obviously also the writer and singer of My Heart is Purple and Gold, something that Pirate fans who've been around for the last 15 or 20 years, maybe not even that long, you've heard it on our show. We use it as part of our open now. We appreciate him allowing us to use that, as well as some of his other songs. And here's what East Carolina's former track and field athlete, as well as current track and field coach Udon Cheek, had to say about his experience at East Carolina University and the importance of the ECU Pirate Club.
ECU, we see you. Pirate to the people, you know how we do. What's going on, y'all? It is Udon Cheek, assistant track and field coach of East Carolina University, our beloved institution. Over my left shoulder right there, that's a picture of me when I was a whole lot younger than I am now. But I ran here from 87 to 91. Must have did fairly well because I stuck around long enough to get my letter. I owe it all to this man right here, Bill Carson, the legendary Bill Carson. He gave me an opportunity to walk onto the program in 87, and I worked my butt off, earned a scholarship, and though I earned the scholarship, y'all, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the Pirate Club, it wouldn't have been paid for. Those of us that are appreciative will invest as I am doing now. My pastor always says, where there's no investment, there's no appreciation. I appreciate my days at East Carolina University. I became a man here. All these people on the wall behind me, these All-Americans, these Penn Relay champions, these academic All-Americans, and more of them over here on this side. Those dreams could not have come true if it weren't for people that were bold enough to not just bring their words to it and their encouragement, but to put their money where their mouth is. We need as many as will, as are able to join the Pirate Club. We need your help. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Again, where there's no investment, there's no appreciation. If you appreciate what you became as a pirate, I became a man here. I am now taking my responsibility as a man and joining the Pirate Club so someone else can have the same opportunity I did. I hope you would want to do the same. We need your help. Join the Pirate Club today. Thanks.
Here it is, a first down. Pirates.
Team know that we got they back. This is our house, this is our town, our top, everyone, 9 copy.